Are you ready to be the best that you can be? Join hybrid business coach and consultant Charity Brown and her guest as they give you behind-the-scenes access to the insider tips and tricks that will help you take your business to the next level. Charity has an extraordinary approach to boosting businesses to break out of their modes, influence their industries, and become leaders of their packs. And she's ready to pass this inspiring knowledge on to you today. Learn how to change your game and build your business into what you've always dreamed of, right here on the Create Clarity with Charity podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Create Clarity with Charity podcast. Today I have an amazing guest. I have Kristen Bowen here. Hi, Kristen.
Hello, really glad to be here.
I am so excited that you are here and that we have an opportunity to talk about healthy lifestyle and living the good life naturally.
I love it.
Yes, me too. I am so excited to have you here. And I know my audience is as well, because they need to know the benefits of your business because it is needed for sure. But first, we want to talk about your experience as an entrepreneur. As you know, most of my audience, they are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, coaches, healers, and they really want to hear from people that have successfully set up their business. And you have an amazing story. So let's get into that. How's that sound?
Sure. Let's jump in.
Awesome. So you weren't a planned entrepreneur like a lot of us.
I was not. But I was. I just don't think I recognized it.
Okay.
I had that thread of entrepreneurship, but I channeled it through my kids, not myself. I kept helping them build these little businesses and just didn't realize it was my passion.
Yes. And that is kind of how it all starts. You know, you find somebody who maybe has a skill like your kids or a trade or some kind of talent, and you just want to put them on and say, hey, you know, you can make a lot of money doing that. And, but then owning that for yourself is a whole different gift, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Let's talk about that, because you and I have a lot in common when it comes to pain and going through some medical emergencies and having it transform our lives completely internally from the inside out. So let's talk about how all that came to be, how you started living the good life naturally.
So it was a failed surgery that actually started the whole process for me. And I went in after a baby needed a bladder tie-up. They put my bladder in a cadaver graft that was screwed in with titanium screws. And at the time, medical thinking was those titanium screws were inert. But now Western medicine acknowledges that a small percentage of people have what's called Melissa syndrome, and that's when your body is allergic to the titanium. Raise my hand. I have that. And now I know, I know now that I have that. Plus the cadaver graft that they used was bought off market. And so it had mold on it. So the combination of me going into that surgery with autoimmune, I had celiac disease. I knew that. And the reaction to the titanium and the mold on the cadaver graft, it was just a trifecta that my body just collapsed and didn't do so well on that operating table. And then we spent the next 3.5 years, my husband did, because I was pretty out of it. He went from a wife that was up and functional and definitely was wired with depression to a wife that was in a wheelchair having seizures, hooked up to feeding tubes, colostomy tubes, catheters. And so he was very aggressive in trying to get me help, but we really struggled putting those pieces together. We lost everything. We lost our home. He walked away from his job so that he could care for me. So it was really an upside down time for my young family.
Wow. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, medical emergencies like that can really set everyone back. You know, it's not only a loss of like jobs, income and things, but also our internal world just pretty much collapses as well. So seeing the light at the end of the tunnel isn't that easy. And I know you specialize in that now. You help, you have coaching and help people come out and see the light and see the big picture in times of crisis and help kind of re-steer them as well.
It's so interesting because if you ever would have told me during that crisis that it would end up being the most transformational part of my life and introduce me back to myself, I wouldn't have even understood that at the time. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had the skills to see how that level of trauma that my children experienced, that my husband experienced financially, that I experienced physically, would actually lead us to
Yeah.
a much more custom fitted pathway in our lives than what we'd ever experienced before. That would have just like, what? What are you
Mhm.
talking about?
You would have been like, no, thank you.
Yeah, like,
I
this is
think
awful. Can't you see? This is awful. And it was. And I don't mean to dismiss anyone experiencing trauma and how hard and debilitating it is.
Yeah.
At the same time, the depth of that hard is equal to the bound of increase that you can experience.
Yeah, I mean, they say that it's kind of like the dark night of the soul, you have to get really down to really come up.
Yeah.
So it's really important, especially during COVID when a lot of us have been sick and we just feeling that depleted,
Yeah.
feeling like there's no hope, feeling like maybe we're losing our footing, feeling like we're losing our mind. I mean, it's kind of like there is a brighter side to this. It's yin and yang, right? Like this may be dark and grim right now, but let's
Yeah.
look for the learning lesson. So I love that you created programs to help steer people out of that because, a lot of us need that. And um, surgery is hard and recovery is the worst. And if you don't have those kind of frameworks in place, and it's not common knowledge. You can't just find it on YouTube. You really do need a coach or somebody to help pull you through. So love that. We'll
Well,
get
and
into
I
your
was a
program.
doer. I was such a doer. And so when you took my body's ability away to do, I lost my sense of value because I couldn't do for you anymore. I couldn't do for my husband. I couldn't do for my neighborhood, my children, my community. And
Mhm.
so there was a mental breakdown within that process of the physical breakdown because I didn't know that being was such a better way to live. I'd been a doer all of my life. So it was a complete metamorphosis for me.
Yeah. And a lot of us feel like human doings, instead of human beings.
Right.
We're just like human doings and we're just, doing the next best thing, serving the next best person, taking care of everyone else but ourselves. But moments like that bring you so present and so consciously into your body that, that's when the transformational shift happens. So I know you have a lot of key resources and help for people out there that are going through that, and not just mindset, but some amazing products that will re-steer people's, metabolism, their blood, white blood cells, red blood
Hormones,
cells, all the
thyroid,
thyroid,
adrenals,
adrenals. Yeah.
autoimmune, all that stuff.
Yes. So let's talk about that. So, well, for when you made your message, and everyone out there who's an entrepreneur, that is really the key to greatness. Really harness those times where you're feeling, super low. And because we will relate, people will relate. We're used to like, what do you call it? Stuffing it and kind of not talking about, the challenges in life. But these days we really need to communicate that so we can like transform ourselves. So thank you for sharing your story. I know that was tough. Um, and that your clients and people that you help have really gotten a lot out of your value. So let's talk about your biz.
Okay.
Since you did create that when you came out of the darkness and the pain, and you did after 3 years, right? Your husband helped you, you recovered, and you were a brand new you. And it sparked this amazing business that you're sharing with us today. So let's talk about that. When all that was happening and you're rebuilding yourself, how did all that start? How did living the good life naturally.com start?
So I never had the thought I will start this business. I was empty. I was a shell of a human being and had put enough puzzle pieces together to be able to be somewhat functional and just was so incredibly unhappy. And that didn't make sense to me because I should have been in incredible gratitude I wasn't in that wheelchair anymore. I just felt just disconnected from who I was. And the really beautiful thing that happened at that point was people were seeing my physical transformation. People were seeing the difference. Like this woman who was having seizures that would get carried into a room is now walking again. And we see her up outside, working in the garden again. And so people started asking me questions. How did you do that? What about this? Or my sister-in-law is struggling with this. Should she do this? And I loved it. And it fulfilled this place in me that I just didn't even know how to tap into. And so their questions really helped me put some peace back into the chaos that I felt like I had really created in my family, the financial chaos and all of that. And so I just kept answering their questions. And one of the things that got me to where I was is my boundaries were really unclear. So you put on top of poor boundaries, you put people who wanted something from me. And I was getting telephone calls in the middle of the night, 6 o'clock in the morning. And they want me to answer that question. Okay, I'm here. And I did that for about 6 months. And it was actually my husband. And he pulled me aside and he said, I love the fact I can see a passion in you that I haven't seen in a long time. I need you to remember every time you say yes to them, you are saying no to us.
Mm.
And he said, just be aware of that. He said, I will not tell you what to do. I'm just asking you to look at that. And I realized as I looked through that filter how poorly my boundaries had been set up.
Mhm.
And he was the one who recommended, and he said, they will not value your time or your recommendations unless they have put energy into it. And so that's when we decided that I would start charging. And that's a whole nother podcast we could do on
Mm.
the guilt that came and accepting someone's money when they were sick and they didn't feel good. And so I did start charging. And because of that is what I saw was people taking more responsibility to be in charge of their own health because they had some money in the game. They needed
Mhm.
to make that recommendation that I'd given them worth what they had paid.
Yeah.
And so living the good life naturally was born. I came home from speaking somewhere. I think it was in Florida. And I came home and there was like 86 boxes that UPS had dropped off for different things that I'd ordered that people needed. And my husband looked at me and he said, get it out of the house now.
It's
And so
taking over.
it's taking over our home. And so that's when we moved into our first brick and mortar place
Oh,
was
nice.
after that. But for several years, I just ran it out of one little bedroom in our home.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And that's really how it all happens, ladies and gentlemen out there, audience. As you know, like so many entrepreneurs are built in the garage, in the basement, in your spare room, on the sofa, right? Like that is the way to start. I mean, and then your business will serve you because you're not paying high overhead until you're actually generating that much business.
And here's something that I want to throw out. You've pulled up my website.
Mm.
And can I tell you, if I waited for the perfect label, I've been doing this for 20 years. We employ anywhere from about 15 to 20-ish people, depending on the time of year. We've been doing it for 20 years. See that label right there? It still is not where I want it to be.
The undiluted magnesium
Yes.
soap.
Oh my goodness. Labeling is not my strength.
Yes.
Hiring graphic designers is not my strength because I've paid some big money and it's still nothing what I want it to be.
Hmm.
But I'm living my dream with imperfect labels.
That's
If
great.
I would have waited until those labels were perfect, it would be 20 years of me
Later.
waiting. You
Yeah.
have to go before you feel like you're ready. Those labels are not even close to where I want them to be. But
Okay.
I again, I'm living proof that you don't have to have a perfect label or a perfect whatever. If your heart is in it, and if
Mhm.
you have a desire to help other people get to where they want to be, it can work.
Yes, amen to that. And that's what this podcast is about, that evolutionary entrepreneur who's there to help others while helping themselves and creating transformations in people. So let's talk about that undiluted magnesium,
Okay.
that transdermal magnesium for optimal health. Like let's talk about that because I don't think enough people know really what that is and the benefits and if we're deficient.
I think one of the most important things, we're recording this podcast in 2022. The last 2 years have taught us as a global nation that our immune system is something we can strengthen, that we have responsibility and accountability to keep that immune system as strong as possible. And the focus on vitamin D has been incredible. The opportunity for people to learn about vitamin D. And so many people are realizing my vitamin D numbers are very low. That's where magnesium comes in.
Yeah.
You cannot get low vitamin D without your magnesium tanking first. Low
Wow.
vitamin D status is actually a way to know your deficiency in magnesium, because is what happens is your body takes that cholesterol, takes the vitamin D to turn that cholesterol into more vitamin D. But magnesium is the key that turns that process on. And
Wow.
so if your body does not have the magnesium to make that conversion, your vitamin D levels will never move no matter how much vitamin D you supplement with. You need
Wow.
the magnesium to turn that key on and help that process to happen. And magnesium does that for thousands of processes in your body. You might have all the hormones you need for perfectly beautiful, glowing hormone health. But if you don't have magnesium, they can't get to where they need to be to connect up with each other. And we could just go throughout the whole body and
Mhm.
talk about the 500 purposes that magnesium plays in mitochondrial health, which is the energy bank for your cells.
Mhm.
It needs magnesium. And so that magnesium is the spark plug, the jump start to your body creating optimal health.
Wow. I wish I knew that like 10 years ago. It's so cliche, but seriously, because I mean, living in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, it's gray, it's gloomy, there's no
Mm,
sunshine. So vitamin D deficiency is like a huge thing there. And then that causes depression because now I know magnesium's low, vitamin D's low. So no matter if you're getting the shot or, if you're taking supplements, it just never seemed to really change for me.
yep.
And so I just stopped taking anything synthetic or any traditional medicine for my vitamin D deficiency. But now I know, oh, if I just put that in my foot soak,
That
then
magnesium.
maybe it would have worked.
Yeah, it helps make that conversion. And it's,
Yeah.
when you get low vitamin D, that's when your gut starts to have problems because vitamin D heals and seals your gut. And so many of us are more aware now of our gut microbiome.
Yeah.
Well, you have holes in your gut if your vitamin D is low because that vitamin D acts like a plug in your gut. And so
Mhm.
it's not just your immune system, it's your gut, it's your hormones, it's your energy. It just is the foundation of everything that's healthy in your body. And so I like to start where it's easy. My optimal goal is the least amount of input in for maximum benefits. I
Yeah.
don't want to be that person that's all they do is focus on getting healthy. I want to be that person, and I am that person who is healthy, and I'm out there doing the things that I want to do and loving and being with those people that I want to be with. And so I like to put in the minimal amount for optimal output. And doing magnesium helps thyroid, hormones, adrenals, pancreas, blood sugar, bone density, brain functionality, gut health, everything.
Wow.
So that magnesium, instead of chasing like, oh, I'm working on my thyroid or I'm working on my hormones, get your magnesium levels up. It'll work on everything while you focus on one thing.
That's so insightful. That's so awesome. Cause I also had thyroid disorders on pills. And then, so it's like all those things boiling down to the magnesium. And so, we all think, oh, yay, magnesium. I'm going to go buy some, and pop a couple of magnesium pills a day. So tell us why that's not a good idea and what's the best way to.
So think about, I don't know if I grew up eating, my mom always made a hot breakfast. And then later on in life, my parents split and we went to cold cereal. And I can remember eating those Fruit Loops, looking at that, thinking, oh, I'm getting all the vitamins and nutrients that my body needs because 1,000%, 850%, 100% of all of those nutrients. We know that you and I cannot eat Fruit Loops and create optimal health.
Right.
But then we go to the health food store and we buy the exact same synthetic nutrition that they put in the cold cereal. They put it in a pill and we think it's supposed to get us healthy. Synthetic nutrition, where it's now studies are showing ascorbic acid, vitamin C, is harder to hold iron stores in your body. Synthetic vitamin D stops the conversion of cholesterol into more vitamin D. So it leaves you this pool of cholesterol. Synthetic nutrition is not only not beneficial, but it's causing breakdowns in the body. And so I walked away from synthetic nutrition and do everything I can to focus on optimal levels. And soaking in the magnesium helps me get to cell saturation. Taking an oral pill, you can never get there because you would have to take so much of that, you would have incredible stomach issues. And so not only let's get magnesium in you, but let's upgrade our thinking about magnesium and not just take 400 milligrams a day, but let's get to cell saturation. And your cell saturation and my cell saturation may be two completely different journeys to get there, because even though you and I both have some very similar cellular structure, our bodies work very differently from each other. If your adrenals are really tired, it's going to take you longer to get there, and you might need to focus on a little bit of potassium along with. And so getting to cell saturation, getting that blood work, having the data, oh, I'm at 6.3. Boom, that is cell saturation. Or, oh, I'm at a 5. I need to soak some more to bring my levels up.
Yeah. And I mean, so through the skin is the best. And that's what all your product, your sprays, your lotions, your feet soak, and through the bottoms of your feet,
Yes.
the highest rate of absorption into the cell level. And I don't know if anyone else out there, but I really love the Vietnamese foot baths and pedicures and things like that, and to treat ourselves. But if we just all had a magnesium soak in those, then the health benefits would be like 1,000 times what we're getting right now. So that's why I love her product. She has these amazing bottles, and what is it, like a quarter cup?
32 ounces is in that bottle, and then you use a quarter of a cup. I was just thinking, your listeners are entrepreneurs. And did you realize that entrepreneurs have a higher rate of anxiety and depression?
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
our mental health. We need to be aware, and I think we need to be very vocal about it, because being an entrepreneur, I would never work 40 hours a week for someone else, but I'll work 80 or 90 for myself.
Yeah.
And so sometimes our balance gets off. And the beautiful thing about that magnesium, when you held that bottle up, is when you start to experience depression or anxiety, you've got a glutamate buildup, and those glutamate receptors get off and broken. And magnesium helps reduce the glutamate levels, meaning that it's easier to uptake the serotonin and the melatonin from your gut.
Yeah, so scientific. So let's see. There's a magic formula you have called the burn rate, right? Your magnesium burn rate. And
Yes.
we can all find that through your programs and your pages on the learn more on livingthegoodlifenaturally.com. You're going to have a way that we can kind of measure where our magnesium is, correct?
Yes,
Awesome.
Absolutely. People need to understand how often do I need to soak? And I can't tell you that, but you can discover that burn rate for yourself so that you know you're soaking the right amount to maintain that cell saturation.
Yes. And also for everyone out there who's into athletics and the gym and lifting and getting into that, superior physique, that it also helps with muscle soreness and rehabbing the tissue in the muscle, correct?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just floored about how I really do wish I knew this 10 years ago, because there's nothing like having a actual natural earth, um nutrient that can heal not only just physical ailments in our body and thyroid and pain and muscle soreness, but it also has an effect on the brain and mental health.
It does. And I want to make sure that I'm being really clear in that it does not, I don't ever want to come across like it cures everything. In fact, sometimes when I get talking about it in my head, I'll be like, oh my gosh, you sound like a late night infomercial. It does this and it does this and it slices and you get this great carrying case that goes with it. And so I never want to come across like that. It is involved in every process in your body.
Mhm.
It plays a dominant role in the processes that are not happening in your body, leading to reduced energy, higher pain.
Mhm.
It does not cure everything. It does, however, take a lot of symptoms away so that once you get to cell saturation, you can determine what was a magnesium deficiency and now what's left over that I really need to focus on to support my body in a deeper level.
Yeah. So what is a magnesium burn rate and how do we discover that?
Okay, so the way that I like to help people discover their magnesium burn rate is have them do a 30-day magnesium challenge. Invariably, when I say that, people will say, oh, I can't soak every day for 30 days. I don't think I've ever done a perfect 30-day magnesium challenge. You're going to miss a couple days, and that's okay. The
Mhm.
goal is to hit 80% of those 30 days that you're soaking 20 minutes in a quarter cup of magnesium,
Mhm.
whether that's in a bathtub or whether that's just in a bowl of water that you put your feet, same efficiency. After that 30 days, go to walkinlabs.com, order, it's about $50, a magnesium red blood cell test, and then go to the lab. They'll take your blood, they'll upload your numbers to your online portal that you made when you purchased it. You want to be at 6.3. 6.3 is cell saturation. Now, some people after the 30 days are there. Every once in a while that happens. The goal is after that 30 days, you at least hit a 5. If you haven't hit a 5, we have a crack in your foundation. We need to look at boron. We need to look at taurine. We need to look at lifestyle. How much sugar are you eating? What medications are you on? How much alcohol are you drinking? Are you smoking? Where's your stress levels? And where's your self care at? And so once you hit that 5, then you'll soak again for 2 to 3 weeks. Let's say you hit a 5 after the 30 days. Then
Mhm.
let's soak 3 times a week and retest your numbers. And if you were at a 5, you want your numbers moving up with soaking 3 times a week.
Mhm.
If they maintain and you're still at a 5, then you know what will keep you at a 5. Now,
Got it.
you want to be at 6.3. So if soaking 3 times a week kept you at a 5, then you know to move your numbers up, you're going to need to soak 4 to 5 times a week. Now, if you're at a 6.3, then you just need to maintain. If
Mhm.
you were below a 5, we might need to work on some lifestyle habits and some other nutrients to make sure that you're holding that magnesium. But getting that second test helps you determine how often you need to soak, whether you need to soak just to maintain your numbers or whether you need to soak to increase your numbers.
Okay.
That second test will save you thousands of dollars in magnesium because invariably people will over soak or they'll under soak. They
Um,
either think, oh my gosh, I felt such a relief. My muscles relaxed. I slept better. But they get their magnesium tested after they've been soaking for 2 years off and on, very without a consistent pattern. And they'll
mhm.
be like, oh, I wasn't as far along as I thought I was. Or they'll not test, and they'll soak all of the time and be like, oh, I'm at a 6.8. I don't need to soak this much. So
Mhm.
understanding that balance and getting it tested the 2 times and then comparing those two test numbers will save you hours and so much money.
Wow, thank you so much for that insight. And so I heard you say something about sugar, and I
Mm,
was a sugar addict for years. So when I cut all the sugar and the alcohol out of my diet, I lost 100 pounds.
wow.
And that really was the key to health for me, and also the debilitating back surgeries I had that were killing me
No.
from the weight and just, unhealthy lifestyle or whatnot. So really taking that decision to cut out sugar. So, because sugar kind of counteracts magnesium, right?
It does. So for every molecule of sugar, it takes 9 molecules of magnesium to balance it. And so sugar just walks you away from that cell saturation. Now, you can have it, but if you're having it, know that your magnesium burn rate is going to be higher.
Mhm. Well, that's good that, there's a resource too. So if you guys are out there, any of you want to like kind of re-steer your body and your calibration, start with sugar and just cutting back. Because it really is the world's like most accessible poison.
No, it is.
And they're putting it in everything. So
But it's so
you
hard to walk away from. I
yeah.
can't tell. I mean,
So bad.
I wish I could say, "Oh, I made the decision to be done and I was successful the first time." It took me years to complete that
7
journey.
years, yeah.
Yeah, it took me years, but the cool thing is, once you get to cell saturation, your craving for sugars goes down.
Mhm.
We hear
Yes.
Yeah,
And then you're very, very sensitive to it.
mhm,
So your body will recognize it if decrease it and then
yeah.
so let's talk about this amazing gift you have for the
Oh,
audience
yes.
because all
My
these
love
great
language is
science.
gifts.
Yes, gifts. We have gifts for
Gifts,
you guys, and we
gifts.
want you to have the good life naturally too. So, Kristen's been so kind to offer this amazing program she has on her site. Let's see, where did we go? Just so they can find it. Learn. So, living the good life
Let's see, I think if you go work with
naturally.com.
Kristen.
Oh, work with
Yeah,
Kristen. Yes.
work with Kristen, and then if you go to sugar addictions,
Yes.
and we've got some solutions for you. And this is a program that is a bunch of just small layers. It's not anything you have to invest a major amount of time. I kept the videos very short, very concise. Here's this tool. Here's how it works. Here's this tool. Try it this way. This tool. Ooh, don't do this one. This one's better. So it's just all the things I've learned over the last 20 years of working with clients and myself on reducing that sugar intake. And I love
Yeah.
to gift this to people.
Yeah. So if any of you out there are interested in sugar addiction solutions and discovering patterns that keep you addicted to sugar, uncovering solutions that work, and reveal the true impact of sugar in your life, Kristen is going to have a code for you guys, and it will be available in our show notes. So this program will be free. And so you
Yes.
would
So they'll
subscribe.
just need to put that code in right at the very top where it says coupon code. And when
Mhm,
they put the code in charity, and you'll put that in the notes. But
mhm.
when they use that code charity, there won't be any cost at all. And you don't have to put credit card information in at all
Yay,
when you
see,
put
a
that code.
real gift for you guys
Yeah, a
so
true gift.
you can
Yeah.
get into your health and recalibrate, because the next thing that you're going to want to do is get a bottle of this amazing soak.
With
I
the
tried it.
imperfect label.
Yeah, with the imperfect label,
Imperfect
but
label.
what's amazing about it is it's holistic, organic. It's the real thing. It's not
It's not
synthetic.
diluted.
It's
It's
not
not
diluted.
manufactured in a lab.
Yeah. So it is really the answer. And I'm doing it. I'm a firm believer in, detoxing through the feet. Like I used to put those like Chinese little sticker things on, you
Yeah.
peel it off and they're all gooey and they release the toxins out of your body and claim your new body. And that's one thing that you like to talk about, how, what is the importance of the overall health to claim your body, your journey
It's
in your
taking
own
your
way.
power back. It's stepping in and being comfortable with your power. And so many times, I think subconsciously, as women, we, especially women entrepreneurs, we maybe aren't quite as comfortable with that power as we think or say we are. And so we push away the very things that will bring us the greatest health. Because when your health is in better balance, you have bigger opportunities and an opportunity for more of your voice to be heard. And so subconsciously, it's a way that we really undermine ourselves.
Yeah, we're done playing small, ladies.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you guys
Yes.
too. Like everyone wants us to fit in that little box, but you know what? It's time for us to reclaim what's ours and really do it at a conscious level, physically first. Everybody get present in their healthier, highly tuned body by doing these amazing things. Easy foot soak. I would love to soak my feet every night and like have someone rub them. That's like the best thing. Treat yourself and at the same time re-steer your health. And naturally, holistically healing is so effective. And I really thank you so much, Kristen, for being here and sharing your magic and, bringing to the light, that we can heal ourselves and there are natural ways to do it holistically. And we don't got to try all the pills at, the pharmacy or at the health food stores that have been pretty much just capitalizing on people's hoping that they can heal themselves,
Yeah.
but really filled with additives and it's not even absorbing into the cellular level, which is really what we need. So thank you so much. And all the audience out there, once again, please visit livingthegoodlifenaturally.com and visit Kristen Bowen on her Instagram and see the Living the Good Life Naturally on Insta and also Living the Good Life on Facebook. She has all of her Living the Good Life Naturally on all the social media platforms, and she is there to do coaching. So, sorry, Kristen, are you sneezing?
I had a cough.
Oh no!
Over there, I muted my mic and I'm
Oh
drinking
gosh,
water.
I was like, oh
Thinking,
no, what's happening over there? I just looked at the camera. Are you okay?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yay. Okay. So I want you to end the show with some positive words of like whatever you think our audience needs to hear, for their magnesium mental health and relieving stress or anything that you want to let them know that we haven't chatted about.
Okay. So in between my coughs,
Sorry.
take action.
Yes. Yes.
We have become a society of incredibly educated, very sick people. And when you learn something, if something resonates with you, take action, even if it's small, even if it's tapping into gratitude to hold on to the magnesium that's currently in your body for a longer amount of time. Instead of just scrolling and learning more, it's time for us to be more and really step into that. And when we do, we up our value. When we take that action, it immediately ups our value. And we need women who are holding their values strongly to start being the change that we need in the world. There's chaos.
There is, and we can pass this on to our kids. I know you love the kids and you actually do
do.
this for our
I do.
generation. So
Everything I do is to make a better place for those little people.
yeah. So everyone step up into your power and get some magnesium so you can power up because your levels, everything will change biologically in your body. And I'm doing it. So thank you for the opportunity, Kristen.
Thank you for having me on. I loved it. There's so much work behind a podcast. When I went off air, I was on a radio show for 7 years and I thought, oh, I'll just do a podcast. Oh my gosh. It's
you
so
are
much
the
harder.
producer, the creator, the host, the everything.
It's so much harder. There are so many hats that a podcaster carries.
Yeah.
And you make it easier for people like me to just step on and share what I'm passionate about. So thank you for the
You're so
behind the
welcome.
scenes work and everything that you do to maintain this podcast so that I could come on and share what I'm so passionate about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you, my team. I know you guys listen, you're there. My creatives, I love you guys. So, once again, you guys, I guess that'll be it. And thank you, Kristen, again for your time. And we will hopefully follow up and have another one and we can brag
Awesome.
about my amazing results.
Yeah. Well, yeah. After your 30-day challenge, you'll have completely different questions. I'd love to come back on and we can dive a little bit deeper into what your experience was like.
I would love to. Thank you. All right, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Ciao.